Brad, we've heard the exciting news that a father-son draft pick will be debuting.
Yeah, Bailey Scott will make his debut, which is really exciting for him and for us. But he's been picked fully on merit. I mean, he's forced his way in through his preparation in the pre-season, his performance through the JLT series. So he's truly worthy of his spot, and we're looking forward to seeing him play.
What's sort of pretty slight, Brad? What were the expectations when you first drafted him? Were you thinking he'd take a bit of time, or has this surprised you?
Yeah, look, purely just in terms of playing against AFL players. I mean, that was a slight query, but he played a fair bit of footy in the NEFL against AFL listed players and grown men, so he performed really well at that level as well. But there was still a question mark with a step up in intensity. But you know, I'm not concerned about his size. I'm more concerned about his strength, and his strength has been really good. He's fought to hold his feet in the contest. He's won his fair share of one-on-one. So his weight on the scales is irrelevant. It's his relative strength that's important.
What can North fans expect to see from him?
Oh, he's just they remember Robert Scott. He's a premiership player for North, and he's got a lot of similar attributes in terms of his neat ball use and his running capability, his ability to get across the ground. So there's been a lot of talk, I think, in the pre-season about some of the players that we brought in, bringing some outside run, and that's true, but Bailey certainly brings that in spades as well. So he's a really good acquisition for us, partly because he's a father-son, but also because he brings a lot of what we need.
Exciting milestone for Ben Brown, a player who I suppose has been on that journey and was overlooked so many times, and now he's made it to 100 games.
Yeah, they're satisfying, these stories of persistence, and Brownie's now a well-recognised star of the competition. But not a lot of people know his backstory, and that he was overlooked in the draft, that he had an ACL reconstruction in his draft year, had to leave Tasmania, go and play with Werribee and battle away. Fortunately for us, right in our backyard, and we got a really close look at him, and he's an incredible preparer, and he's a great athlete as well. It's something that's often overlooked for a player of his size. So great story of perseverance and persistence, and his status in the game has come on the back of hard work, not purely talent alone.
How's Robbie Tarrant's status?
Yeah, he'll
definitely play.
Yeah, he'll definitely play. Yeah, Taz is fine. Yep. So it's been a great recovery, but he hasn't missed a beat in his preparation since he had surgery, and it's been a really smooth transition into full contact and full match drills. So yeah, there's no problem with him. He'll definitely play.
How many newcomers are you expecting, or should we expect to see? Is it going to be 5 in total? Is that the number?
Yeah, there'll be 5 in the squad, which we'll announce tonight. So we've still got 2 training sessions before we play. So we'll still look at refining that squad down into our final 22. But yeah, there'll be 5 fresh faces in the squad.
Ben Jacobs did such a good job on that last time you guys met. Who will get that role, do you think?
Yeah, it's a really good question, one that we haven't finally decided on. But fortunately, we've got more options. In the past, Ben Jacobs has been a really important player for us, obviously, but we've been Ben Jacobs or nothing. So we've worked really hard on that through the pre-season. It's a variety of options, and we've certainly added to our midfield stock. So I suspect it'll be a multitude of players who'll take that role, and we're hoping to provide Fremantle with some questions of their own with our midfield.
Sorry, how do you expect the week that's been for Fremantle to affect Sunday?
Look, unknown. I mean, every club goes through challenges throughout the year. Some on the eve of the season, some later on. It can really challenge you, or it can galvanise you. We're expecting Fremantle at their best. Every team's had a long pre-season to get ready for round 1. So, to pin your hopes on one player is folly, and we certainly wouldn't do that, and I don't expect them to do that either.
Davies Uniacke, do you expect him to be a consistent senior player this year?
Well, he's a second-year player, so there aren't too many players who come in their second year and just perform every single week at a really high level. So Luke's certainly capable of doing that, but as you said, it's the challenge of being able to replicate that. But his pre-season suggests that he's in for a good 2019, and I'm really excited about what he can produce, because I watched him really closely as a junior, and he's just an elite player as a junior, and I think more through 2019 we'll see those elite attributes come to the fore.
What's he particularly worked on?
Well, everything in his game, but I mean his ability to, with ball in hand, to win the ball. You know, he's a big, strong boy, and he's incredibly powerful. It's just been adjusting to the way AFL footy's played, because you know you could argue it's a different sport from underage footy to AFL footy. So he's worked across everything, but just overall he's had a great pre-season, of which first-year players don't get. You know, we get them at the end of November, then we go on a 3-week Christmas break, and then they have about 14 camps, and they train for about 3 weeks total. So that was his prep last year, and that's no different for any other first-year player at other clubs as well. This year he's had a full prep, full pre-season, and he's ready to go.
How much extra time have you put into your running strategy, obviously with the new rules?
Well, a lot of time and effort, because we've had 12 to 18 months to prepare for it. So we've, you know, we're playing our first regular season game without it. But I mean, we trialled it in the JLT series 12 months ago. We trialled it in the JLT, or we used it in the JLT this year. So, you know, we certainly won't be saying post-game that, you know, the runners cost us the game, because we've had enough time to prepare for it.
So do you use your leadership group as sort of the on-field coaches? Is that simplistically the way you operate?
Yeah, there's a variety of that, but also, you know, we still can use runners post goals, and I think the slight adjustment, which is just a common sense adjustment, is that provided the runner's delivered his final message and is making his way off the ground by the time the field umpire bounces the ball, then he won't be free kicked. So I think that's a pretty common sense one. So we've still got enough time to get the messages out that we want.
So you're a fan of the rule?
I just think that AFL football is a player's game, you know, and if you're watching EPL, which is and soccer in general, which is a very tactical game, if you had two non-players running in through those formations, people would think it was hilarious. But for some reason, in AFL footy, we're okay with it. So you know, I think the more the players get to play the game and the non-players get off the ground, the better. Now we still need, and as a coach, I'd still like a mechanism to get messages out, because we don't have timeouts, and you know, we don't have long to get our messages out. We've still got that facility, so I think it's a pretty good compromise.
You touched on Luke a little bit earlier, and you've obviously bolstered that midfield depth in the off-season, but there's going to be some disappointed boys during the year, aren't there?
Yeah, and that's what we were hoping for in October. You know, when we finalised our list, and you know, we continue to evolve our list build, we were certainly hoping that we'd have a strong midfield in the VFL, and we expect that to be the case this weekend. And as we get some players back from injury, hopefully it should be, you know, even harder to get a spot in our midfield. But you know, at the moment, it's our main challenge is getting that midfield to gel, because just adding guys in is one thing, but getting them to work together is another.
Is that going to make man management, though, from your side of things, a bit more difficult as well? Because there's going to be guys who expect to play regularly who are going to find themselves in the VFL for stretches this year. Yeah,
well, I think even you speak to some high quality top end players, they don't have any sense of entitlement. They've got to earn their position, and you know, that's the thing about the great players. You know, whether it's Sean Higgins, Ben Cunnington, they need to hold up their end of the bargain. They don't have a sense of entitlement that they play and the others are fighting for positions. So we pick the team based on performance, and we pick the team based on the evidence provided to us.
Is your expectation that Jared, Jasper and Aaron are going to hit the ground running and contribute fully straight away?
Well, they're 100-game players, so they've, you know, while it's a slightly different system that they're coming into, they've played a lot of AFL footy, so it's certainly easier, I suspect, for them to adjust than for first-year players. You know, but we're also not asking them to dramatically change the makeup of our team either. We just want them to play the role that we set them for and play the role that we recruited them to play.
Is Joel Simpkin a forward or a mid?
He's both.
Where does he predominantly play this year, though? He played a lot through the midfield and the JLTs. Is he more of a forward once the season starts?
Look, he'll play both. I mean, I think that he's just a highly capable player. You know, and I think when you've got your guys up and going, there are certain players that every coach wish they could play forward and midfield at the same time. And you guys know who all those players are. So it's a matter of finding the right balance and the right mix depending on who else you've got in the team. But yeah, we've certainly trained Jai as a midfielder because, you know, you want your really good players up around the ball.
Is Marley Williams fit, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yep, he's right to go.
What about some of the guys who are TBCs? There's a few of them on the list at the moment. Can you give any sort of clarity on where they're at?
I wish I could, and if I could, they wouldn't be TBCs. You know, there are a few guys that are just, you know, we need to get them to tick some boxes in terms of their getting back to running until we can then put a reasonably accurate return to play date on. So that's a challenge for us. I mean, the obvious one is Ben Jacobs, and he's just, you know, he'll do some training today. You know, he's running. He's just not quite right. Now, I know that sounds like deja vu from last year, but I can assure you it frustrates me more than anyone, probably with the exception of Ben. But we will give more clarity once we have it. The only thing I can say is he's getting the best treatment, the best care possible, and as I said last year on a number of occasions, there's no alarm bells going off. We're not massively concerned about this because he's not far off being right, but he's just not good enough to play.
Jed Anderson?
Yeah, well, Jed should be, he's coming back from what we think was a pretty minor hamstring, but he's had a couple before, so hopefully won't be too far away, hopefully a couple of weeks.
Because he was a test a couple of weeks ago and then he's gone back to TBC. Did he have a setback or?
Yeah, no, he's just not progressing as quickly as we thought he would, and that's mainly because we're being conservative with the previous injury history. So with the guys who have had similar injuries, like when you've had repeat hamstrings, you're a lot more vulnerable to a setback. So, you know, the medical guys just give themselves a bit of leeway there in terms of, well, we think he might be a few weeks, but, you know, until he starts running at full pace, we just can't be definitive about it.